All right, today we're going to dive into a topic that sounds like it's pulled straight out of a sci-fi movie, but is actually becoming more real every single day. We're talking about posthumanism, and it asks one of the biggest questions you can imagine. What comes after human?
But before we go rocketing off into the future, let's just start with a question about right now. I mean, think about it. Just look at the smartphone that's probably within arm's reach. Think about the algorithms that are basically curating your entire life, or the medical tech that keeps us going longer and longer. Are we are we already living in a post-human world? The lines are getting blurrier by the second, and that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
So, what does come after human? For centuries, this was a question you'd find in poems and novels. But now, with the insane speed of advances in AI, bioengineering, and robotics, it's not fiction anymore. It's a very real and pretty urgent philosophical question.
At its heart, posthumanism is about making a radical break. A break from this idea of humanism, the belief that we humans are the center of the universe, the peak of creation. It actually forces us to think about a future where the word human, as we understand it, might just be, well, an outdated concept. It's a huge idea, and it challenges pretty much everything we think we know about ourselves.
Okay, so when people talk about a post-human future, it's really important to know they're usually talking about one of two very different paths. You can kind of think of it like two schools of thought. One wants to enhance us and help us transcend what it means to be human, and the other wants to step back and question what human even means to begin with.
So let's break that down because it's a big deal. On one side, you've got transhumanism. This is the path of radical enhancement. We're talking gene editing, AI brain implants, robotics, all to overcome our biological limits and become something more than human. But on the other side, you've got critical posthumanism. This is way more philosophical. It's less about a flashy sci-fi future and more about questioning our present, about understanding how we're already co-evolving with our tech and what that's doing to our identity, right here, right now. A huge concept for transhumanists is something called the singularity. This is that hypothetical moment, the tipping point, when artificial intelligence gets so advanced that it blows past human intelligence. This would trigger a kind of runaway technological growth that would change literally everything. And for thinkers like Ray Kurzweil, this isn't just a maybe, it's a when. In this quote, it really nails the transhumanist worldview. What Kurzweil is basically saying is that humanity's special purpose, our one big job, was to be the creators, the ones who kickstart the next, way more powerful phase of evolution, technology itself. From this point of view, our job is to build our own successor. But hold on, that's not the whole story. On the other side of this whole conversation, you have thinkers like Katherine Hayles, who offer a much more subtle perspective. For her, the post-human isn't some distant sci-fi future we're racing towards. Nope, it's a way of understanding how we are changing right now. So Hayles lays out 4 core ideas for this. First, she says that information patterns are becoming way more important than what they're physically stored on. Think about it. A digital file can exist on any device, anywhere. Second, our consciousness, what we think of as us, isn't the whole show. It's just one part of a much bigger cognitive system. Third, and this is a wild one, she sees our body as our original piece of technology, our first tool that we learn to control. That's why things like our smartphones can feel like they're just natural extensions of us. And finally, the goal isn't to become robots. It's to realize that we're already totally intertwined with the intelligent machines all around us. Now, all this might sound super 21st century, right? But the desire to go beyond our human limits? Well, that's an ancient dream. It's a story we've been telling ourselves for thousands of years. I mean, this desire has a seriously long history. You can go all the way back to the 14th century, where the poet Dante used a word, transhumanar, to transcend the human. Ancient myths are full of stories about characters like Prometheus, who overreached and got seriously punished for it. And then this theme just explodes in the 19th century with cautionary tales like Frankenstein, and it keeps right on going into the 20th century with movies like Blade Runner, all of them exploring our deep, deep anxiety about blurring that line between the creator and the creation.
So what do all these stories have in common? They all tap into the same fundamental human impulse, a kind of rebellion against our own limits, this deep frustration with being mortal, with being fragile, with being finite. In a lot of ways, posthumanism is just the latest chapter in this very, very old story. But here's where it gets even bigger. Posthumanism isn't just about changing ourselves. It's also about changing our relationship with, well, everything else.
It's about knocking humanity off its self-appointed throne.
So, the big idea that posthumanism is really pushing against is called anthropocentrism. And it's basically this belief that we humans are the center of everything, the stars of the whole show. We tend to see ourselves as fundamentally separate from and superior to nature, animals, and even the machines we built.
Well, posthumanist thinkers look at that assumption and they say, hang on a second. They argue that our supposed importance isn't some self-evident truth. It's just a story we've been telling ourselves. And questioning that story, that's the start of a massive shift in how we see the world. And maybe no one captured this shift better than the philosopher Donna Haraway. When she famously said, "We are all cyborgs," she wasn't talking about futuristic robot assassins. She meant that the clean, neat lines we used to draw between human, animal, and machine, they've already dissolved. For Haraway, this cyborg idea is a really powerful political tool. It helps us break free from thinking in these rigid black and white boxes, human versus machine, nature versus culture. By seeing ourselves as these messy hybrids, we can start to think differently. Instead of talking about human dominion over nature, she talks about companion species. The goal isn't human dominance, it's multi-species flourishing, where we finally recognize how deeply we depend on all other forms of life and technology. And that brings us right back around to where we started. Posthumanism isn't just some fun thought experiment about a far-off future. It's a lens. It's a tool for understanding our complicated, messy, technology-filled present. So yeah, the point isn't to get lost trying to predict some wild robot future. It's about using these ideas to see how our lives, our politics, and our very identities are being reshaped today by our relationship with technology and the whole non-human world. You know, there's this classic statement from the Roman playwright Terence that pretty much sums up the old idea of humanism. It's this beautiful expression of empathy, and it basically says, if you're human, you're one of us. I get you. Well, posthumanism takes that incredible idea and just blows the doors wide open. It suggests a new motto for our time, something like, what is non-human is no longer alien to me. It's asking us to stretch our sense of connection and responsibility to include animals, the environment, and yeah, even the intelligent machines that we share this world with. And that, right there, that gets to the absolute heart of it. It's a central idea from thinkers like Hayles. It's this constant feedback loop. We invent our tools, and then our tools turn around and reinvent us. What we make and what we are evolving together, locked in this inseparable dynamic dance. Which leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. If we accept this idea that we're in this constant state of coevolution with our technology, that the lines are forever blurred, then the question isn't if we'll become posthuman. The real question is, who are we becoming right now? And maybe even more important, who do we want to be?